You're listening to Thunder Quack Podcast Network.
Okay, we are back. We are live with the Thunderquack Podcast Quarantine Zone. I know the Thunderquack Podcast is the official podcast of thunderquack.com. You can get it every Tuesday morning on patreon.com/thunderquack. Or if you want to wait and get it late, you can get it on podcast services across the galaxy. I am, of course, your host, Michael Cohen, and with me tonight for the Quarantine Zone, we've got special guest Tyler Nicol. Hey, Tyler, how's it going?
Hey, it's doing great. You know, I respect your audience so much. I am wearing pants for this, so
wow,
I just want to put that out there. Yeah.
You know what? I wish I was bold enough to not be wearing pants. But here I am, pantsed and ready to talk about some geeky stuff.
Yeah. In this day and age, pants are like showing up in a three-piece suit.
Yeah, it's life is pants optional at the moment. That's for sure. I definitely have spent a day in sweatpants, not really caring about anything. How have you been doing? You're working from home, right?
I am absolutely working from home for Kabam. Yeah.
Yeah.
We make mobile games.
Yeah,
so it's fine
for folks. Because most of my audience is probably new to you. There might be a few crossovers, but who the heck are you?
Oh, right. Yes, I'll give the resume. My name's Tyler James Nicol. I'm a writer, performer, actor around Vancouver, British Columbia. Currently located within about one bedroom apartment in New Westminster for the foreseeable future. But I host burlesque around town. I host wrestling. I've done voice acting in movies you haven't seen, and if you have, my deepest apologies. And I also write for some mobile video games. They're a little nerdy. You might have heard of the companies. One of them is for, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Marvel, and the other one is Transformers.
Yeah. So you've gotten to put words in the mouths of Deadpool. Optimus Prime. Most recently, you did a good Grimlock story that was,
love me some Grim.
That was quite enjoyable.
Well, him Grimlock King, so that's important for us all to know.
Exactly. You get to do some cool stuff. You're an exciting person to have on the podcast.
Oh, all right. I'll take it.
This, I mean, like we've done stuff on stage together. We did an awards show, a very very rigged, very fake awards show, at the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo a few years back. So we've got a couple of credits where we were both on the bill.
We've talked Star Wars before.
Yeah, which means that puts me 1 degree of separation away from Mark Hamill, because you've worked on a movie that Mark Hamill also worked on, right?
I worked on 2 movies alongside and sharing scenes with Mark Hamill, and the best part about that is that it was a trilogy. It is Howard Lovecraft. The first one is Howard Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom, Howard Lovecraft and the Undersea Kingdom, and finally Howard Lovecraft and the Kingdom of Madness. I play H.P. Lovecraft's dad. And Mark Hamill comes in the second and third movie, which was interesting for me because in the first movie, I was doing a Mark Hamill impression, so
well,
didn't really think that was going to be a problem
until the second perfect, film. Right?
Yeah, I share scenes where I'm basically aping Mark Hamill Joker to Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Luckily, we weren't in the same room for that, so it's
fine. Cool. Well, I mean, like I've known you now for, oh man, I don't even know. I mean, it's been over a decade, because this will be the 10-year anniversary of 8 Bits of Destiny. So, I've definitely known you since then. Back when we were much younger, but I don't think it's pretty. I think that we're much prettier now than we were back then.
We've grown into our faces.
Yeah. We were just humble geeks back then, geeking out about video games, and
now we are mighty geeks.
Yeah. Now
geeks among men.
We're high octane geeks, like Mad Max.
I will
style.
say that I had what is definitely for a long time going to be my peak nerd experience last year.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go to New York Comic-Con, but I got to go because I was sent by Marvel to host on the Marvel main stage at New York Comic-Con, which is pretty peak nerd.
Yeah,
it's pretty up there. But while I was there on Marvel's dime, I took a walking tour of the Ghostbuster film locations.
Yeah, this is hilarious because you are the second person on the Thunderquack podcast Quarantine Zone to mention the walking tour of Ghostbusters film locations, because Joe on Wednesday, Joe Hogan, he actually lives in New York. He lives in Staten Island, and he's a huge Ghostbusters fan. So so it's the second time it's come up this week, and on this new temporary podcast that we're doing.
It's what we like to think of as being outside in New York and just standing in front of Hook and Ladder number 8 in Tribeca.
Yes. Yeah. And then going to other places that are very famous already, like the library and museums and whatnot.
Yep, I ran down the library stairs as fast as I could to try to recreate the scene. So.
Awesome. What do you want to talk about tonight? We didn't prep this really. I just kind of said, "Hey Tyler, come on."
No, we didn't at all.
We'll talk about geeky stuff, and you said, "Okay, cool. I'll think of something, I guess." And
no, I have a plan.
Yeah,
there's a plan in store. You don't even know. So I am still a collector of physical media, which in this day and age might become the new currency.
Yeah.
Like once the streaming stops, but we still have power, that little window, I'm going to be a king. Yeah. But I still have a big old wall of DVDs and Blu-rays here, so I was going to just reach behind me right here and grab one and then just start talking about it.
That sounds great.
And I've already got a great one in my grasp right now. I would love to tell you about it.
Yeah.
So this is a film. You can find this movie on YouTube. I'm going to put that out there. It's out of print right now, so I don't feel super bad about like telling you to go hunt it down. If a special edition comes out, find it and pay for it. But it is a Vincent Price classic called The Monster Club. It's not a film a lot of people have heard of, and yet it is magnificently terrible.
So go ahead. No, go ahead. You
So this movie, it's one of those like, it's an anthology film. It's from 1980. And this film is one of those ones where like there's like kind of connecting thread in between like 4 tiny horror movies that happen in between it.
Okay.
And in this movie, Vincent Price is a vampire who bites John Carradine from The Howling and many other films, and then takes him back to the Monster Club, as he is a writer who he quite respects and wants to show him all these horror monsters to give him ideas for his next book. And in doing so, tells him several horror stories, which play out as the little films in between. It actually ends on a magnificent speech from Vincent Price about how they have to enter in at least one human to the Monster Club because humans kill more of their own kind than any other monster. Mm-hmm. It's quite the monologue. He also keeps calling them Humes, which I enjoy as a monster name for humans. But the thing that elevates this from just a weird BBC made-for-TV anthology horror film is that on top of the weirdness of Vincent Price in a nightclub being a vampire and these horror shorts, is every couple of minutes there's a full music video.
Okay.
For like an underground British punk band that has decided to do monster-themed music.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me.
And it's not like they're like, hey, let's play a couple seconds of this just to show they're in the nightclub. No, it is a from the start of the song to an end of the song 3-minute music video, and it happens about 4 different times for 4 different completely bonkers songs. So this, like, if you're looking for something that's going to hit all the notes of like cheesy horror, British punk music, the worst mask scene in the history of horror films. Like, The Monster Club is where it is at for you this evening. You're going to watch it, you're going to regret it, but at the same time, you're going to love it.
Awesome. That's great because people need that extra content right now, or at least that's what I'm told. I don't have any free time with kids and working from home, but I hear that everybody else is kind of getting bored. Have you know how have the days been for you?
Yeah, well, you 3D printed little clones of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Have you
how
like run out of things to do? Are you starting to go nuts? Or because for me the days are going by so fast.
They're not going by fast. I have been inside. I've been self quarantining. I don't have any symptoms or anything like that, but I am just safer. It's nicer. The more that people actually do this, the faster everything is going to go. I did buy a VR headset before all of this happened, not knowing this was going to be its main use, but wow, I'm glad I have a VR headset in this day and age.
Yeah, that's that'll at least give you some opportunity. We hooked up the Xbox 360 and the Kinect today because I thought I have fond memories of the Kinect. Which is a great way to set it up. I was like, in my brain, I was like, yeah, we have Kinect Disneyland Adventures. If I set that up, Kara is going to love it because in that game, you can walk around Disneyland.
Can you wait in lines? Is that a big part? Is line waiting?
You don't have to wait in lines, and that's kind of the best part. You can just walk up to the characters and take a picture with them. You don't have to wait. There's all sorts of reasons why it's awesome. And so I went to all of the effort of digging out the 360, hooking it up properly through the TV, like the entertainment console and everything, and got it booted up and the Xbox 360 is last generation, and Kinect Disneyland Adventures is probably about midway through that generation, so it's not the greatest looking. This is not what I would consider an excellent game. It does not play well. It is not intuitive because everything is hand gestures, right? And there's this weird translation that you have to do from what a real human would do to what the Kinect can read and understand. And I applaud Microsoft and the Kinect team and the game developers who supported it for doing what they did and being that bold with the technology at the time. But it was not ready for prime time yet. The most fun games are always the dance ones. So tomorrow we'll give Kinect Star Wars a go.
With just some amazing music in that Kinect Star Wars. Speaking of weird, cheesy songs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the Kinect Star Wars.
The most tragic thing about the Microsoft Xbox Kinect and Kinect Star Wars in particular is that those songs have never officially been made available. And because some of those songs are great parodies. I don't know. I personally feel that way. That they're great pop songs that then,
the solo song will get stuck in your heart forever.
It's so good, and having Han Solo and Lando Calrissian have a dance off in Cloud City, in the carbon freezing chamber. It's like it doesn't get much better than that.
I can still do the little bike dance from it, like the speeder dance.
Yeah, the speeder bike.
Doing it right now. You can't see. It's important.
We'll bust that out tomorrow. We'll give Disneyland another try, but she lost interest very quickly because she was like, "Why do I have to stand?" And I was like, "Because you have to stand. That's how it works. This is how this.
This is already like just bull. I'm off for already on this.
It's just It's funny because in Back to the Future 2, Elijah Wood famously says, "Oh, you have to use your hands. It's a baby's toy." when they play the arcade game, the gunfighter arcade game, and
Yep.
that would have been 2015, which we are now 5 years ahead of, and my daughter is like,
no, for mine, I just got Dance Central, which is great, by the way.
yeah. But she's like, hey, can we just sit down and play a video game with controllers? She's like, can we just play Mario Party? And I'm like, oh boy. Halfway through, she's like, Mario Party is much better. And I was like, cool. I don't appreciate the sass on that. But she's right. Mario Party, Super Mario Party on this Nintendo Switch is a much better game than Connect Disneyland Adventures. But yeah, why don't you grab another movie off of your shelf? We'll jump into that again.
Sorry, one more time. I lost you for half a second there.
Oh, okay. Why don't you grab another movie off your shelf, and we'll.
Oh yes, I have one here. Let's see, it's right on the top of the pile. I'm legitimately just reaching over my shoulder and grabbing stuff. By the way, this is luckily I have not organized my DVDs, so there's no alphabetical rhyme or reason. So I have just pulled from the pile another classic that you can probably find on YouTube, but not without all the special features. It stars some very talented actors, including Paul Giamatti, David Hyde Pierce, and Molly Shannon. I speak, of course, about the forgotten pilot for The Amazing Screw-On Head.
Okay, so with The Amazing Screw-On Head, that's adapted from something, right? Is that a comic book?
That is based on a comic book by Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy.
Yeah.
It is Paul Giamatti as a robot in the age of Lincoln who is sent on paranormal investigations. It's his dreaded enemy, Emperor Zombie, played by David Hyde Pierce.
At this point, I'm embarrassed that I didn't get all of that simply from the title.
It is amazing. I think Patton Oswalt plays Amazing Screw-On Head's butler. It is also animated exactly in Mignola's art style. It is the closest adaptation of any of his comic work I've ever seen in my life, and it's hilarious. It is genuinely hilarious. So it's Amazing Screw-On Head. I'm certain you can find some version, because again, it was a failed pilot, so it's not like they copyright enforce it that hard. But whenever possible, please make sure that all of your dollars go towards the artists who work so hard to entertain you in times like this. But at the moment, YouTube. Yeah, it's about 26 minutes because it was just a pilot. It was only ever made the one. It is a genuine crime that it never went to full series, because the writing is super tight. The animation is amazing. The world building is instantaneous. And I always love that. Mignola does have that ability where he uses enough folklore and such that he never really has to give exposition on people. It's like, who's that? That's Emperor Zombie. He's the emperor of the zombies. What do you want? It's fine. You get it. He flies in a blimp. He has a vampire mistress. It's the Emperor Zombie.
One of our live listeners, Sherston, has just commented, is Tyler's entire movie collection just MST3K episodes? And
I do have a lot of them.
Yeah. That's actually... MST3K is a pretty good that's a pretty good description of Tyler's sense of humor, I think.
I mean, there's a bit of that.
You're a little more macabre at times, a little bit darker, and or a little bit more vaudeville,
I would
at other times, but
little vaudeville, little burlesque. I actually still, as fuzzy as my memory gets sometimes, I can remember the exact moment where I wanted to become a writer, and it was reading Douglas Adams. And it was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Right at the start, the Vogon ships floated in the air the exact same ways a brick doesn't.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you can describe stuff by describing the opposite of stuff? I want to do that for money. And now I do, which is nice.
Perfect. Cool. Grab another movie. Let's
grab another movie? DVD. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go through the pile here. Oh, this actually is an interesting one because they can talk about their streaming service right now. So there are two guys who make some of the best editing things ever. Their name are Joe Pickett and Nick Pruer. And they do a thing which is a service. It is a service to mankind and a service to entertainment as a whole called the Found Footage Festival. Right now, if you do check on this Found Footage Festival, you can actually subscribe. They're giving a 14-day free trial with their whole catalog up there. And I think it's like $6.99 a month after that. Well worth the price if you can swing it, and if not, 14-day free trial. It does what it says on the label. It is a found footage festival. They find old tapes and discarded dreams, and they edit them together into tight little like 5-minute packages that are themed. And it is pure madness. It is training tapes and old forgotten home movies and workout videos, and just like, I think one of the ones was Linda Blair did a training video on how to get revenge, and 100% of it was just telling people to commit felonies. It's like, if someone's bugging you, you can always take their front hose and put it through their mail slot. It's like, yeah, that's vandalism. Like, that's not okay, man.
Yeah, that's like, super illegal. That's not.
Yeah, like, who says that you have to put mail in their mailbox? I think the Postmaster General and the general laws of the state say that you have to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can fill it up with tapioca pudding. No, you can't. I think that's a crime.
Yeah. So it's certainly frowned upon. I mean,
it's not. It's at the very least not encouraged. I would go so far as to say not encouraged. But yeah. Found Footage Festival. Look them up online. I own every single thing they did. They were going to be doing a tour that went to Vancouver. Obviously, that is postponed. Yeah. But yeah, it is for some just turn off your brain, deepest, darkest parts of humankind entertainment. I will give the caveat, 100% not family friendly. You will see genitals in ways that genitals were not meant to be displayed, which is to say it all. But because that's what's on some of the tapes, are like medical training tapes, and there's weird stuff in there. But yeah, it's a hoot. If you're 18 and older, Found Footage Festival, it is your new home to watch some entertainment and put some weirdness in your brain.
Cool. Let's dig in again, because these are gems.
I have another one here, which is, oh no, all of this shelf is good. I'm sitting next to the gem shelf. I have a television show which I want to see if you can actually remember this being a show.
Okay.
So this show was produced by Fox. It starred Sarah Silverman, Eugene Levy, and Seth Green. It was a sitcom that ran for one season. Do you know which one I'm talking about already? Bunny? It is Greg the Bunny.
There we go. I get some credit right there. Yeah, the second you said Seth Green, nice Fox and Seth Green, I was like, that's gotta be Greg the Bunny. Yeah, that's what an interesting show that was. Not like ahead of its time, I think. If a show like Greg the Bunny came out now on a streaming service, I think it would be a huge hit. Especially like the people that you just mentioned. Such great talents. That you just mentioned, like, three incredible comedians. Three of actually, I would say, like, Eugene Levy is one of my favorites. And Sarah Silverman is a
genuine treasure.
Yeah, like, man, what a weird show.
And Sarah Silverman's very interesting in it because it was before kind of her public persona was solidified. So she, for a while, especially in like romantic comedies or comedies, she just played kind of the heavy.
Yeah.
Like she was the oh, this is the very serious, no nonsense person. And now you're like, she is 100% nonsense. Like nonsense is what she brings to the table.
What's the...
So for those who don't know what Greg the Bunny is, Greg the Bunny purports a world where Muppet-like characters are actual functional creatures in the world. So whatever Muppet you've ever seen in a show is a living creature that is not run by a human being. They are a species that run around in the world, mostly as entertainers, and they interact with humans. And Seth Green is the son of the director of one of the biggest like Sesame Street style shows called Sweet Knuckle Junction, which is just hired his best friend Greg the Bunny, because Seth Green, of course, is best friends and roommates with a small brown bunny in this show. And Sarah Silverman plays the network exec, and Eugene Levy plays Seth Green's dad, which, if you look at it, does not work genetically, but whatever.
It makes no sense. No. But we'll allow it.
It would be interesting to now be able to like redo it with Dan Levy in the Seth Green role. Yeah. I would pay good money to watch that series.
Yeah, so interesting because Schitt's Creek obviously in like was its final season. I think, has it wrapped up yet? I think maybe it's got a couple episodes left.
I am behind, so I don't know exactly where they're at, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's maybe like 3 episodes left. We're getting there. It's very close to the end. And I'm very interested to see what Dan Levy does next. Because I think that his stock is pretty high at the moment. But that said, nobody's really making anything at the moment unless they're making it quarantined in their own home, such as we are right now.
Yeah, as an example.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool creative stuff going on. Not a lot of big budget stuff at the moment.
No, even today I have been doing some Vincent Price story hours, which I've been enjoying. I just finished one before this, actually, where I just read out poems and short stories as Vincent Price. It's real fun, real good way to wreck my throat. So.
That's awesome.
But again, it's inspiring because you got to do something. Like you have to fill the day. You got to fill the hours. And I as a performer, I had all of my shows for the next 3 months canceled.
Yeah.
So if I don't have strangers watch me do something stupid, I worry that I die like a fairy in a fairy tale. So,
I like you were talking to the right person because Crystal came on last night. I think that we did a really good episode. But 3 minutes in, I instantly regretted it because she's super not comfortable on the microphone because she has no interest in other people hearing what she thinks about stuff.
Whereas I only people to know what I think about.
Yeah, which is a totally normal human way to go about your life, is to just be like, I am an individual human being, and my personal opinion on things are not actually important to anybody else unless they're solicited. Whereas my way of thinking is, I don't care if you ask, I'm going to tell you what I thought of The Rise of Skywalker, and you're going to listen to it.
Do we need to talk about this? Is that a thing you need to? I'm sure you've spoken about it at length.
I've talked about it so much, and I think that Monday night is going to end up, or actually I think it'll end up being Sunday night. Might end up being Amanda and I doing a live watch along for Rise of Skywalker.
Can I put one thought into the world?
Yeah, go for it.
My thought on Rise of Skywalker. First of all Star Wars is good Star Wars.
Yeah.
It is at the base level. You put it on, you're gonna get joy out of it. So I want to get that
100%.
Yeah, I do not hate on any of it. I'm all the way from Phantom to Rise. I'm there for the ride. It's good times. But that out of the way. Rise of Skywalker is like when a grandparent gets you almost the present you wanted.
Yes.
They're like, it's transmorphers. It's what you like, right? Like, I know you tried. I know you put effort in. You really whiffed it, but I'm still gonna watch this.
Yeah. It's in Jingle All the Way, the holiday smash hit Jingle All the Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad.
And Phil Hartman. Don't forget Phil Hartman trying to sleep with Arnold Schwarzenegger as well.
Phil Hartman, and of course Anakin Skywalker himself, Jake Lloyd. Poor Jake Lloyd, poor sweet Jake Lloyd. But in that film, obviously Arnie's after the Turbo Man action figure, but all the stores have left is Booster, his pink saber-toothed tiger sidekick. And Rise of Skywalker would be like getting Booster for Christmas when you asked for Turbo Man. 100%.
It is a genie wish of a film.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you wanted closure on this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it now. No, like, inarguably, I now have closure on it.
Yeah.
But we have Mandalorian still, and it is perfect, and it is holy.
Yes, we have the Mandalorian, thankfully. Actually, I'm in big news today. Sorry, I used the wrong word. Big rumor out there today that Rosario Dawson has been cast in season 2 of The Mandalorian as Ahsoka Tano. Now, it's weird timing. It's very weird timing. The source is a good source. Peter Sciretta on /Film. I mean, like, he's not a clickbait type of guy, and he is connected. So it's entirely possible that this is a real story. That said, until it's confirmed by Lucasfilm, it's a rumor. It's not news, but everybody's kind of reporting it like it's news. Variety reported it, so that kind of lends a bit of weight to it. But it's weird timing because this morning was the first episode of the Clone Wars arc in the final season that's actually focused on Ahsoka. So people are already searching for Ahsoka. Like it's a I don't want to say a trending topic, but it's sort of in that it's out there right now, right? Ahsoka is a topic of conversation among Star Wars fans. So if you were going to drop an article like that, today's the day to do it because people are already searching, and then they're going to find your article and they're going to click on it, and you're going to get your clicks. The other thing that's weird about it is that, like, obviously nothing is in production right now.
No.
Very few things are actually doing anything. And The Mandalorian season 2 thankfully wrapped shooting about a week and a half ago, I think, maybe a week ago. Kind of right before all of this craziness started coming down the pipe. So if that's true, then they already shot it, or it would be weird to cast her right now to shoot something.
Or is she like voicing some heavily CG'd version of her? Or like...
and then the other part of it is look, I'm all for Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka. I have no problem with that. Zero problem whatsoever. In fact, I think that she would be great in that role. I really like Rosario Dawson. That said, there's a big contingent of Star Wars fans that if Ahsoka made the transition to live action would want to see Ashley Eckstein in that role. Again, like in the same way that I'm like Rosario Dawson, like I'm skeptical until this is announced. In sort of the same measure, saying like, oh, I would, if they're gonna do it, I would want Ashley Eckstein. Well, Ashley Eckstein's not really. She has done on-screen stuff. She's done like Disney Channel type stuff, but The Mandalorian is now high profile, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, like when you put her up against the likes of Gina Carano and Carl Weathers, I think that she'd hold her own. But not meant. That is not meant to be a dig at the two of them. But like I'm just saying that we're not talking about Academy Award performances, and they don't need to be Academy Award performances. It's Star Wars. It's all ridiculous stuff anyways. It's nonsense.
It is space. Some sizzle reel funness, and it's just some fluff.
But I don't know that I would necessarily want to see Ashley Eckstein in that role either. My thing is that I kind of just feel like you don't put her in live action. I know that it's what a lot of people want. I don't think that it would be a wise choice. The last thing I'll say on it is that Ahsoka's character, this is The Mandalorian takes place 7 years after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we saw Ahsoka was the end of Star Wars Rebels, which is like it's implied that it is very quickly after the end of Return of the Jedi, after the end of the war. Now that might be referring to the Battle of Endor. It might be referring to the Battle of Jakku. It's Star Wars. Who cares? It's all very technical. But in any case, the last time that we saw her was much earlier than 7 years after Return of the Jedi, which means that to have her show up in The Mandalorian, assuming that The Mandalorian season 2 takes place immediately after season 1, which I think that it might not. I think that we might take a little bit of a jump. I think there might be at least a year in between the seasons.
Are we going to see the child grow up Baby Groot style, where he'll just like be a bit of a teenager?
That's kind of my gut feeling is that they might jump time a little bit to have that character evolve a little bit, so that, you know, because I don't think that you can do season 1 again. You can't do precocious little baby unscrewing things and trying to use the force and comedic beats and stuff. It's all awesome in season 1, but if you did that in season 2, you'd just be repeating yourself. What's the point? And Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni aren't the type of creatives to just play the greatest hits.
I mean, listen, I've had ice cream once. Why would I ever want to eat it again? What, because it was delicious and I enjoyed it so much? No, new challenges ahead. Make this ice cream hot.
But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. The other thing that's out there is that, man, I want to say back in like even December, a couple of sites were reporting that the next animated project coming from Lucasfilm is actually a series that takes off where the end of Rebels left off, with Ahsoka and Sabine searching for Ezra, and that was obviously like sort of planted at the end of that series to set up another series. So the rumor is that that's what's coming, and some of the rumors even point to it coming at some point this year, which, if it is in the offing, I think that Disney's going to be doubling down on something like that to try and get it out this year, because I think one of the things that we're going to see in the next 6 months is a lot of stuff that was supposed to come out this fall is going to get pushed to mid-season or maybe even later, because people think about the production phase of it. They think about the actual shooting and the fact that sets are being shut down, but post-production is going to be hit by this as well. Granted, a lot of people working in post sitting in a dark room by themselves editing or doing 3D renders or what have you, but it's not that people won't be working on stuff. I just think it's going to shift timelines because it's going to be that much harder to coordinate a production schedule when people aren't in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
So
it can get complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you need to have 2 or 3 people in a room to look at something and hash something out. Thankfully, we live in an era where we can do teleconferencing pretty easily, and everybody can stay connected that way. So I think that, like, The Mandalorian as a great example for season 2, I think that they're probably pressing on with post-production and getting that sorted out and figuring out everybody's sort of work from home strategies and whatnot. But does that mean that they'll still make their, what I think that they were saying, November launch for season 2? I don't know, right? And similar with an animated project, it would be interesting, especially because with Lucasfilm Animation, they rely very heavily on Asian studios, and obviously parts of Asia have been very heavy hit with this whole thing. So I don't know. I expected an announcement on whatever Lucas Animation was doing next at the end of the Clone Wars, right? When because right now they want the conversation to be about that, everybody going to Disney Plus every week to tune into the Clone Wars and sticking around for that. And then I expect that, like, the week of the last episode of Clone Wars, they'll be like, here's the series finale of Clone Wars, and tune in because we're going to have a sneak peek of what's coming next. Just like I think it was like the week before Rise of Skywalker, they were like, hey, tune into this week's episode of The Mandalorian for a sneak peek at Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll do the same sort of thing with whatever the next animated project is for Disney.
Which, speaking
for
of animated
summer.
projects for them, I am very glad that Onward is speeding its way to people right now,
Yeah,
because that did get shortened in theater, and I did enjoy it. I actually have cosplay from it now. I thought Onward was great.
yeah, everybody who's seen it, who managed to get out to see it that first week that it was out,
Hmm.
has said good things. I didn't manage to get out because we literally, like, the week that it opened was when this was all kind of starting, like when the murmurs were starting, and we had kind of planned to go see Onward in the theater on that Saturday. We were going to go that Saturday morning, um, and I said to Crystal, I was like, I don't think this is necessarily a great idea. I don't think it wasn't at that point like this is dangerous, but I was like, let's just avoid a crowded opening weekend movie theater and maybe wait a couple of weeks. And here we are a couple weeks later, and everybody's locked in their houses.
Yep, but April 3rd it will be on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
So
April 3rd. So yeah, and you know what, I might actually bite the bullet and give them the extra money ahead
yeah,
of time, because
I
we
do like
were
encouraging
planning
that.
it would have cost us about $50 to take the kid and for both of us to go,
Hmm.
to go see it. Cassie doesn't cost anything because she doesn't eat popcorn and she doesn't need a movie ticket. But for the other three of us, between movie tickets and snacks and everything, it would have been about $50. So $20 is actually a savings.
Yeah, there's that. I will like, so as Pixar, and I'm not spoiling it for anyone because again it's coming out soon. Everyone will get to enjoy it. But as Pixar movies go, it was an interesting one of a lot more straightforward, a lot less. I want to say like almost poetry to it. Like it was like very linear. Like, hey, we've got this path in mind. We're gonna get it done. But in that same way, I thought it was like very beautiful, and in the way that like Inside Out can be shown to a child who's like dealing with depression. This
Yeah,
is definitely a good movie for someone who has maybe had a loss in their
yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah,
That's like, hey, this whole thing's a metaphor for that. Would you like to have this? You can have a vocabulary about what you're feeling. Like,
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
really looking forward to that. Cool. Well, you know what? I think we'll wrap it up there. Um,
great.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for joining me. Initially I was kind of like, I went through my Rolodex and I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask these few people, and I'll probably need to fill 2 weeks or something like that. It's looking like this will probably be a thing that goes on for a lot longer.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Than
even leaving the house until April. So
Yeah, so we may cycle our way back around to you, Tyler,
and it's fair.
and have you back on because this was fun. I enjoyed it.
I I will say, for those of you who are Transformers fans, I do highly suggest our game Transformers Forged to Fight. I also suggest you check out the forums on Monday for no particular reason about no particular announcements that I want to talk about later.
Awesome. There you go. That's our exclusive scoop.
As even then, that's probably broaching pretty close to what my company wants me to say.
Yeah.
Like that's as tight as I can be on that. But I will say, yeah, it's gonna be neat. It'll be
Cool.
neat. It'll be a neat thing to look at.
Awesome. Awesome. Where can people find you on the interweb?
You can find me on Instagram at DorkZombie. That's DorkZombie. And you can find me on TikTok now, because the quarantine is really inspiring some TikToks. And that's going to be at Mr. Nicol, MisterNickel. For those. And also, I have a plug, not for my own thing, if I can reach out to your audience, because I have a thing I think they'd like. There is a book called Lady from the Black Lagoon. I am suggesting it to every human being capable of enjoying books. It is by Mallory O'Mara, and it is the true story of Millicent Patrick, one of the original designers of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and one of the first technical animators for Disney that was a female.
Awesome.
It's an amazing book. It's part autobiography, biography, detective story, Hollywood history book. It is an astounding piece of work by Mallory O'Mara. That's Lady from the Black Lagoon. Just came out on paperback. It's available Audible, digital. Just go put it in your brain. It's really good. I want to talk about it with people.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to our very modest audience of three, 2, 3. I don't know.
I'll take what I get.
I don't know if one of those is me. But
One of them even did a Count Blah reference of
yes.
I get blah, so I'll take it.
I thank you for joining us live or after the fact on the Thunderquack podcast RSS feed, or however you're listening to this. Of course, if you want to check out more great podcasts, head to thunderquack.com for all of those. And if you like what you heard, you can support us by first and foremost leaving a rating and a review on the podcast service of your choice. It doesn't even have to be the one that you're actively using. Go to a different one if you want. Just spice it up a little bit, right? Of course, you can also go to store.thunderquack.com and pick up some merchandise. And last but not least, you can head to patreon.com/thunderquack and get support us with your monthly pledge of support. That is not how I usually say it.
No, it was smooth as butter. I loved it.
Was it?
Let me give it a try. Ready?
Yeah.
And if you go to patreon.com, you can, of course, pledge your monthly support towards the Thunderquack Network. Get all that entertainment a little bit early and know that your money is going to a good cause, and that cause is keeping people indoors in front of microphones.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go. Awesome. That was my smooth announcer voice.
Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, everybody, again for joining us, and we'll be back. For those of you who do support us on Patreon, we'll have a new Thunderquack podcast on Tuesday morning, or you can again wait and get it late next Friday. But we'll be back with the Quarantine Zone on Wednesday night at 8:30. I will have Curtis Finley joining me, which you guys should be familiar with. Curtis, he was my host on the Pullbox podcast and technically is still my host on the Cartoon Afternoon podcast. We're just on an indefinite hiatus. But he wants to come on and talk about some of this craziness with everything in the industry kind of shifting to accommodate all of us being quarantined. So that'll be Wednesday, and then I've got some other great guests lined up for Thursday and Friday this week as well.
So much better.
Yeah. I'm saving the best for last. Thank you, fair. Tyler, for joining us. We'll catch you guys next week.
May all of your quacks be thunderous.